In this lesson, you'll learn how to play What a Wonderful World using either strumming or fingerpicking patterns. Throughout this lesson, I'll be using my tenor with low G tuning. Now you can also follow along with high G tuning. Just keep in mind that the patterns will sound a bit different on your instrument, particularly the fingerpicking patterns, because your fourth string is one octave higher than mine, but the patterns still sound beautiful with high G tuning. Now let's get started by looking at how to play the chords in this song. Our first chord is C. You can play C either with your ring finger or your pinky on the 3rd fret of the 1st string. And next we have G7. For G7, we have our index finger on the 1st fret of the 2nd string and our middle and ring fingers on the 2nd fret of strings 3 and 1. Next we have E minor. For E minor, we have our index finger on the 2nd fret of the 1st string, middle finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, and ring finger on the 4th fret of the 3rd string. Next we have our F chord. For F, we have our index finger on the 1st fret of the 2nd string and our middle finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th string. Then we have D minor. Now to go from F to D minor, we'll keep our index and middle fingers in place and place down our ring finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. Our next chord is E7. For E7, we have our index finger on the 1st fret of the 4th string and our middle and ring fingers on the 2nd fret of strings 3 and 1. And then we have A minor, which is just the 2nd fret of the 4th string. Our next chord is G sharp. And this is one of the more difficult chords in this song. We're covering all 4 strings on frets 3, 4, and 5, and there are 2 ways that we can form this chord shape. One way is to take our standard G chord shape and move it up 1 fret, and also add our pinky to the 5th fret of the 4th string. Now if you prefer, you can play this chord as a bar chord. I'm going to bar the 3rd fret across all 4 strings. And then I'll place my middle finger on the 4th fret of the 2nd string and my ring finger on the 5th fret of the 4th string. Next we have an easy chord, C7, just the 1st fret of the 1st string using our index finger. Then we have G diminished 7. To play this chord, we're using our index and middle fingers to play the 1st fret of strings 3 and 1. Then we have B flat. For B flat, we're covering the 1st fret of strings 1 and 2 with our index finger, the 2nd fret of the 3rd string with our middle finger, and the 3rd fret of the 4th string with our ring finger. Then we have A7, another easy chord. This is just the 1st fret of the 3rd string using our index finger. And then our final chord is G sharp diminished 7. To play this chord, I have my index and middle fingers on the 1st fret of strings 4 and 2, and my ring finger and pinky on the 2nd fret of strings 3 and 1. Now if you prefer, you can play this chord as a bar chord, using your index finger across all 4 strings on the 1st fret. And then you'll place your middle finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string and your ring finger on the 2nd fret of the 1st string. Next we'll take a look at our 2 strumming patterns and how to apply them to the song. The first pattern is used on chords that are held for 6 beats, and the second pattern is used on chords that are held for 12 beats. Here's our first strumming pattern, played on a C chord. The strumming here is down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down. The rhythm, counted out at a slow tempo, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And at a fast faster tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Our second strumming pattern covers 12 beats, so it's twice as long as our first pattern. Here we have 3 down strums, then an up strum and another down strum. Down, 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 up, down. The second half of this pattern, or the final 6 beats, are played the exact same way as pattern 1. So here's how we count pattern 2 at a slow tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And at a faster tempo, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. To apply our strumming patterns to the song, we'll use pattern 1 on all of the chords in standard font and pattern 2 on the chords in bold. So the chords in standard font are held for 6 beats and the chords in bold are held for 12 beats. Now let's look at how to play each of the 4 lines in verse 1. Starting with line 1, we'll play pattern 1 on all 4 chords, starting with C, then E minor, then F, then back to E minor. In line 2, we're going to stay with pattern 1 on all 4 chords once again, beginning with D minor, then C, then E7, and then A minor. In line 3, we're going to play pattern 2 on G sharp. Then in line 4, we're going back to pattern 1 with D minor, and then G7, and then our C chord in bold is held for 12 beats, so we'll play pattern 2, then back to D minor with pattern 1, and then we finish the verse on G7 with pattern 1. If you're enjoying my lessons, I would love to hear from you in the comments, and please give this video a thumbs up. It really does help to support my channel. If you're interested in downloading my song sheets or tabs for fingerstyle arrangements, then I invite you to join my Patreon community, where all of my materials are available for download both as individual PDFs and as songbooks. You'll find the link down below in the video description. Next, we'll look at our 2 fingerpicking patterns and how to apply them to the song. Just like our strumming patterns, our first fingerpicking pattern is used for chords that are held for 6 beats, and our second fingerpicking pattern is used on chords that are held for 12 beats. Now let's look at our first fingerpicking pattern played slowly on a C chord. This pattern covers 6 beats, and the rhythm is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And at a faster tempo, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. For both of our fingerpicking patterns, we're going to use our thumb, index finger, middle finger, and ring finger on strings 4, 3, 2, and 1. So for this first pattern, we're going to pick strings 4 down to 1. Our second fingerpicking pattern covers 12 beats, and here's how it sounds at a slow tempo. The rhythm here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And here's how this sounds at a faster tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. To play this pattern, we'll start by picking strings 4 down to 1, then string 2, and string 3, and And then the second half of this pattern, or the final 6 beats, are played the same way as pattern 1, picking strings 4 down to 1. Now we'll apply our fingerpicking patterns the same way as we did our strumming patterns, using pattern 1 on all of the chords in standard font that are held for 6 beats, and pattern 2 on the chords in bold that are held for 12 beats. So let's walk through how to play each of the 4 lines in verse 1. Beginning with line 1, we'll play pattern 1 on all 4 chords, starting on C, then E minor, then F, then back to E minor. In line 2, we're going to stay with pattern 1 on D minor, then C, then E7, and then A minor. Now in line 3, we have our G sharp chord in bold. So here we're going to play pattern 2, then in line 4 we'll go back to D minor with pattern 1, then G7 with pattern 1, then we have a C chord in bold, so we'll play pattern 2, back to D minor with pattern 1, and then we finish this verse on G7 with pattern 1. Now we've come to our play along. I'm going to play and sing through the entire song, alternating between our strumming patterns and our fingerpicking patterns. Now if you'd like, you can stick with strumming or fingerpicking for the entire song. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. For more song tutorials using strumming and fingerpicking patterns, see this playlist here. Have fun learning What a Wonderful World, and thanks for watching.